Today, we will peer beyond the veil of the ordinary and touch upon two stories that perhaps should never have been told. Lock your doors, dim the lights, and make sure you are truly alone, because after what you hear, you may not be certain of anything. Story 1.
In the heart of an old farm, nestled among hills painted with autumn's gold, lay Ebenezer's pumpkin patch. Not just a field, but a living legend, a whisper in the wind, and a shadow in the twilight. Old Ebenezer, a stooped man, with eyes full of ancient secrets, had tilled this land his entire life, and each year his pumpkins were the largest, the most orange, and the most mysterious in the entire county. The fame of Ebenezer's pumpkin patch spread far beyond the valley. It was said that on Halloween night, when the moon hung high and round, and the air was thick with the scent of bonfires and decaying leaves, the pumpkins in the field began to glow from within. Not just glow, but pulsate with a soft golden light, and anyone who dared to walk the path leading to Ebenezer's house could hear quiet voices whispering ancient lore. Young and brave lads from neighboring villages often made bets on who would dare to spend a night in Ebenezer's field, but no one ever made it to the end. The tales of their return were full of contradictions. Some swore they saw ghosts dancing among the pumpkins, some heard melodies that drove them mad, and some simply woke up outside the field, remembering nothing but a deep, unexplainable fear. Ebenezer himself never confirmed or denied these stories. He would just smile his toothless smile, stroke his gray beard, and say, "My pumpkins, they're just special." No one knew why they were special. Some believed it was due to ancient spells Ebenezer supposedly knew, inherited from his ancestors. Others believed the field was built on the site of an ancient Native American burial ground, and the souls of the ancestors lived within the pumpkins. One day, in the middle of autumn, when the leaves had turned crimson and golden, a young anthropologist named Daniel arrived in the village. He was full of enthusiasm, armed with a camera, a voice recorder, and a stack of scientific books. His goal was to unravel the mystery of Ebenezer's pumpkin patch. Daniel was a skeptic, but the stories he had heard intrigued him. He immediately went to Ebenezer. The old man greeted him with the same enigmatic smile. "So, you want to understand my pumpkins?" Ebenezer asked, settling into his creaky porch. "Many have tried, young man, many." Daniel explained his objective, his belief in science, and his desire to find a logical explanation for all these fairy tales. Ebenezer merely chuckled, offered him a slice of pumpkin pie, and gave Daniel permission to conduct his research in the field. Daniel began his work with fervor. He took soil samples, measured radiation, and analyzed the chemical composition of the pumpkins. He set up night vision cameras, motion sensors, and microphones. But, to his disappointment, all readings were normal. The pumpkins were just pumpkins, the soil just soil. However, the longer Daniel spent in the field, the stronger he felt a strange pull. He noticed that as the sun set and shadows lengthened, the field became unusually quiet. The wind stopped rustling, the birds fell silent, and it seemed as if time itself slowed down. One night, with only a week left until Halloween, Daniel decided to stay in the field. He pitched his tent right in the middle of the pumpkin rows, armed with a flashlight and a notepad. He wanted to experience it for himself. Night fell quickly. The moon was almost full, and its silver light bathed the field, turning the pumpkins into glowing orange orbs. Daniel waited, but nothing happened. He began to feel disappointed. Perhaps it was all just tall tales. But then he felt it. A light breeze, which hadn't been there before, swept across the field, and the pumpkins began to sway, as if dancing. Daniel tensed, his heart beating faster. He pulled out his camera and started filming. And then he saw it. A soft golden glow began to emanate from the pumpkins. At first they were just faint flickers, but then they grew brighter, pulsating with a rhythm Daniel couldn't explain. He heard voices, quiet, melodious. They sounded like the whisper of the wind through autumn leaves, like the laughter of children in the distant past. Daniel couldn't understand the words, but he felt their meaning. These were stories, stories of those who lived on this land before him, of joys and sorrows, of love and loss. He felt a connection to the past, to those who had tilled this land, who had laughed and cried upon it. The glow intensified, and Daniel felt his consciousness expand, as if he could see through time. He saw old farmers, their faces worn by work, but radiant with happiness at the sight of the harvest. He saw children playing hide-and-seek among the pumpkins, their clear laughter echoing across the field. He saw Ebenezer, young and full of vigor, tending his field with the same love as his ancestors. Daniel spent the entire night in this trance, absorbed by visions and sounds. As the sun began to rise above the horizon, the golden light faded, and the voices quieted. The field became an ordinary pumpkin patch again, but Daniel was no longer the same person. He emerged from his tent, feeling as if he had lived an entire century. He approached one of the pumpkins, touched it. It was cold and hard, yet he felt a pulse of life, of energy, of history within it. Daniel was no longer a skeptic. He understood that not everything could be explained by science. There are things that transcend rational understanding, things that must simply be felt, believed. He returned to Ebenezer, who was already sitting on his porch, sipping his morning coffee. "Well, young man," Ebenezer asked, with the same mysterious smile, "do you understand my pumpkins now?" Daniel nodded. "Yes, sir, I do." He didn't explain what he had seen or heard. He knew Ebenezer already knew everything. He simply said, "These aren't just pumpkins, sir. They are keepers of stories." Ebenezer nodded approvingly. "Exactly so, young man, exactly so." Daniel stayed in the village for a few more days, but no longer to study the pumpkins. He helped Ebenezer with the harvest, listened to his stories, and learned from him. He understood that true wisdom lies not only in knowledge, but also in belief, in the ability to see the invisible, to hear the unheard. On Halloween night, Daniel stood at the edge of Ebenezer's pumpkin patch with the villagers. The moon was full, and its light bathed the field. And, like every year, the pumpkins began to glow. A soft golden light pulsated in time with an invisible melody, and quiet voices whispered ancient lore. Daniel smiled. Now he knew that these were not ghosts, but echoes of the past, living memories enclosed in each pumpkin. He understood that Ebenezer's pumpkin patch was not just a field, but a bridge between past and present, a place where the living could communicate with the dead, where stories continued to live. And from then on, every Halloween, when the pumpkins in Ebenezer's field began to glow, Daniel returned. He sat at the edge of the field, listened to the whispers of stories, and felt himself part of something larger, something ancient and magical. Ebenezer's pumpkin patch continued to keep its secrets, but now Daniel was one of those who understood them.
Story 2.
The old house on the outskirts of the city had always been shrouded in mystery. It stood there, abandoned and silent for decades, until a young couple, Anna and Mark, decided to breathe new life into it. The house was large, with peeling paint and creaky floors, but it had a special, almost fairy tale-like atmosphere that immediately captured their hearts. The first few weeks of renovation flew by. They enthusiastically stripped old wallpaper, painted walls, and fixed leaky pipes. One day, while clearing out clutter in the attic, a dusty, dark space that seemed to have been untouched for an eternity, Anna stumbled upon a wooden chest hidden under a pile of old blankets. When she opened it, there was a doll inside, an unusual one. It was made of porcelain, with huge, glassy eyes that seemed alive, and thin, almost transparent hair. The doll was dressed in an antique lace dress, yellowed with time. At first glance, she was beautiful, but something in her gaze made Anna shiver. It seemed as though the doll was looking straight into her soul. "Look what I found!" Anna called to Mark. Mark came over, examining the doll. "Creepy, don't you think? Her eyes are too realistic." Anna laughed. "Come on, it's just an old doll. Probably belonged to someone's child. I think we can keep her. She'll add some antique charm to our house." They brought the doll down from the attic and placed her on the mantelpiece in the living room. At first, Anna didn't pay much attention to her, but soon she began to notice strange things. She felt as though the doll was changing positions. First, she sat upright. Then she seemed to lean slightly to one side. Anna attributed it to tricks of the light or her own fatigue. One night, Anna woke up with the feeling that someone was watching her. The room was shrouded in gloom, and she clearly saw the doll's silhouette on the mantelpiece. Her glassy eyes gleamed in the darkness, and this time Anna was sure the doll was looking directly at her. A chill ran down her spine. "Mark, have you noticed anything strange about that doll?" she asked the next morning at breakfast. Mark looked up from his newspaper. "Not really. What happened?" "I think she moves," Anna said quietly. "Sometimes I feel like she's watching me." Mark smiled. "Darling, it's just an old doll. Your imagination is playing tricks on you. You're probably working too hard on the house." Anna tried to convince herself he was right, but an inner voice told her otherwise. The strange occurrences continued. Books she left on the table ended up on the floor. Doors she closed were found ajar. And each time she walked past the doll, she felt her gaze become more intense, almost threatening. One evening, when Mark wasn't home, Anna was sitting in the living room, reading a book. Suddenly she heard a quiet, scratching sound coming from the mantelpiece. She looked up. The doll. Her head was tilted to the side, and a faint smile seemed to appear on her lips. And then Anna saw it. One of the doll's thin porcelain fingers slowly, almost imperceptibly, moved, scratching the surface of the wooden shelf. Anna jumped to her feet, her heart pounding in her chest. She rushed to the doll, grabbed her, and threw her into a drawer in the cabinet, slamming it shut. Her hands were shaking. It couldn't be her imagination. It was real. When Mark returned, Anna stammered as she told him what had happened. He listened to her, but his eyes showed disbelief. "Anna, are you sure? Maybe you're just tired. I think we should take a break from the renovations." "No, Mark, I saw it with my own eyes. The doll moves!" Anna almost screamed. Mark hugged her. Okay. If she bothers you so much, we'll get rid of her. We'll throw her out tomorrow." Anna felt a temporary sense of relief. But the next night was the worst. She woke up to a loud thumping coming from the cabinet. The thumping repeated, growing louder, until it turned into a furious drumbeat. Anna grabbed Mark's arm. "Do you hear that?" Mark, startled awake, nodded fearfully. "What the hell is that?" Together, they cautiously approached the cabinet. The thumping stopped, but from the crack under the cabinet door seeped a thin, piercing sound, as if someone was scratching wood with their fingernails. Mark slowly opened the door. The doll sat there, right in the middle of the drawer, her eyes glowing in the darkness. But this time there was no smile on her face. There was an expression of pure, unadulterated anger. And her porcelain hands seemed to be covered in a thin layer of dust and splinters. "We can't just throw her out," Anna whispered, realizing that simply getting rid of this doll wouldn't help. "She'll come back." From that day on, life in the house turned into a nightmare. The doll constantly appeared in the most unexpected places. They found her on the pillow in their bed, on the kitchen table, even in the bathroom. Each time she looked at them with the same sinister expression, and Anna felt her sanity slowly slipping away. They tried to burn the doll, but the fire did her no harm. They tried to bury her, but the next morning the doll was back on the mantelpiece, smirking. Despair grew. Anna began to research the history of the house. She found old newspaper clippings that spoke of a tragedy that had occurred in the house many years ago. The family who lived there before them had lost their young daughter, Emily. The girl had died of an illness at the age of 7. The article mentioned that Emily loved her porcelain doll very much. "She's Emily," Anna whispered to Mark, showing him the clippings. "She's Emily's soul is trapped in this doll. She doesn't want us to live here." Mark, who had initially been skeptical, was now also frightened. He had seen with his own eyes the inexplicable phenomena occurring in the house. He had seen Anna's suffering. They decided to find a way to appease Emily's spirit. They searched for information about paranormal phenomena, about how to communicate with ghosts. In an old book, Anna stumbled upon a mention of a ritual that could help a spirit find peace. This required finding a personal item of the deceased that had great meaning to them and returning it to a place where they felt safe and happy. Anna remembered the attic where they found the doll, and she remembered the wooden chest in which it lay. Perhaps there was something else there that belonged to Emily. They went up to the attic again. Now the place seemed even more ominous. Every creak of the floor, every rustle made them jump. They found the chest, and this time Anna examined its contents more carefully. Under the yellowed lace of the doll's dress, she discovered a small, faded diary. It was Emily's diary. It contained children's drawings, illegible handwriting, but between the lines one could read the story of a happy, loving girl. The last pages of the diary contained entries about her illness, about fear, about how much she missed her parents. And on the last page, written in a trembling hand, was, "My doll is my best friend. I will never part with her." Anna and Mark understood. The doll was not just a toy. She was a part of Emily, her comfort, her companion. And Emily's spirit was attached to her. The doll didn't want to harm them. She just wanted to be where she was happy, with her owner, in this house. They took the doll to the attic and placed her back in the wooden chest. Next to it, they placed Emily's diary. "Emily," Anna said softly, looking at the doll, "we don't want to disturb you. We understand this is your home. We just want to live here in peace. If you allow us, we will take care of your home, and you will always be a part of it." This time the doll did not move. Her glassy eyes seemed to soften. For the first time, Anna felt not fear, but sadness. From that day on, the strange occurrences stopped. The doll no longer appeared in unexpected places. The creaks and rustles in the house became the ordinary sounds of an old house, not harbingers of something sinister. Anna and Mark continued to live in the house, but now with a new understanding and respect for its past. Sometimes, when Anna went up to the attic, she would see the doll in the chest. Her eyes were still full of mystery, but now Anna felt that it was not a gaze of anger, but a gaze of peace.
Good night. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel.